This is the heartbreaking and deeply disturbing case of the Bartolomei family murders, a case that stunned the nation and shattered a small town. Welcome back to Chilling Fireside Stories, where I tell true crime stories with the utmost care and respect for the victims and bearable for my community. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It truly helps me continue bringing these important stories to you. These cases deserve to be remembered. Now, settle in and let's begin. On the evening of September 17th, 2023, a quiet neighborhood in Romeoville, Illinois, became the center of a chilling discovery. Concerned family members had placed 2 calls to law enforcement after failing to reach 31-year-old Zoraida Bartolomei, her husband Alberto Rolon, or their children. Zoraida's sister Brianna and their mother both expressed growing fears, noting that Alberto had missed his early shift at work, something entirely out of character. Responding officers arrived at the Bartolomei family home on Concord Avenue around 8:43 p.m. for a welfare check. The house was eerily still, with no signs of movement inside. Peering through the windows, officers noticed a TV and coffee table knocked over in the living room, a subtle but unsettling clue that something was amiss.
Hey, I got a TV knocked over and a coffee table knocked over. No, we're gonna go on that side. There's a gate over there. Hey, hold on. Wait. You look on this window?
Oh, that's not good shit. Here, wait. Keep shining. Oh, wait.
Lights are all off. 3 cops.
No, there's,
in the backyard real quick.
As they moved toward the back of the property, the officers entered through the porch. What they found inside was nothing short of horrifying. A bloody scene unfolded before them, confirming that a tragic and violent event had taken place within the home.
I got 2 dead dogs, TV's knocked over, and a coffee table knocked over in the front room.
Inside the Bartolomei family home, officers uncovered a scene of unimaginable horror. 2 dogs lay dead in the front room, alongside a knocked-over TV and coffee table. As they cautiously moved through the house, they discovered the bodies of 38-year-old Alberto Rolon in a hallway and Zoraida Bartolomei in a bedroom, her hands covering her face. Tragically, their 2 sons, 10-year-old Adriel and 7-year-old Diego, were found lifeless in their bed. Nearly 2 dozen shell casings scattered throughout the home painted a grim picture of the violence that had unfolded. Neighbors were stunned by the news. The Bartolomei family had only recently moved to the area in April 2023, fulfilling their dream of owning a home. They were described as a quiet, close-knit family who kept to themselves, often enjoying backyard gatherings. Zoraida worked in quality control at Adriel Engineering, while Alberto held a position at a local liquor distributor. Despite occasional marital struggles, the couple was devoted to their children and had been in good spirits following the purchase of their home. Investigators were left with more questions than answers. The family had no criminal history, no financial troubles, and neither Zoraida nor Alberto owned a gun. As officers spoke with Zoraida's brother, who had arrived at the scene unaware of the welfare check calls, he struggled to think of anyone who might have harbored ill intentions toward the family. Through crime scene analysis, experts pieced together a general sequence of events. They determined the murders occurred during the night, between 9 p.m. Saturday and 5 a.m. Sunday. Alberto Rolon, likely awake due to his nighttime work schedule, had gone to check on noise at the back door. He was shot in the hallway, injured but trying to flee toward the bedrooms. The shooter then pursued him and fired 5 more shots before he reached his wife and sons. Zoraida and her children Adriel and Diego were found in the master bedroom, where it seemed one or both boys had been tucked into their mother's bed. It was clear to investigators that the family had been deliberately targeted. The investigation quickly took an unexpected turn when colleagues of Zoraida at Adriel Engineering shared a troubling lead. Zoraida had confided in a co-worker about receiving threatening text messages since June of that year. The anonymous messages warned her to end her affair with Nathaniel Huey Jr., known as Nate, a co-worker with whom Zoraida had been involved for about 4 months. The threats escalated as Zoraida ignored them, ominously predicting that Nathaniel would soon be at the center of a murder investigation and accusing her of endangering her children by continuing the relationship. 1 week before the murders, Alberto received similar threats from an unknown sender. The message was chilling. This stupid girl will be the reason you have no children. Detectives were eager to question Nathaniel Huey. They found him at work, where he admitted to his affair with Zoraida, calling her an angel, and insisting he would never have wanted to harm her. Huey revealed that he lived with a woman he referred to as his wife, Ermelinda Palomo, though their marriage had never been legally formalized. The couple had been together for 8 years, sharing a home with Ermelinda's adult daughters. Although Nate claimed his relationship with Zoraida was slow-moving and his affection genuine, his inconsistent explanations raised doubts. According to Zoraida's sister Brianna, Zoraida had described Nate as her soulmate, comparing their bond to that of Romeo and Juliet. Investigators even found a heartfelt note in Zoraida's handwriting at Nate's workstation, professing her love for him. Despite his claims, detectives remained skeptical of Nate's involvement. Their suspicions intensified upon discovering that in addition to his job at the manufacturing plant, Nate had founded Black Bear Security LLC, advertising services such as personal security and gun repairs. Social media photos showed Nate posing with firearms, yet he had been barred from legally owning guns following a 2016 battery charge. This blatant disregard for legal restrictions added weight to the concerns about his character. Further investigation revealed unsettling behavior in the days leading up to the murders. On September 14th, just 2 days prior, Nate left work early and didn't return until after the killings. Co-workers described tension between Nate and Zoraida, noting that he seemed visibly upset. Meanwhile, Ermelinda Palomo's daughter provided disturbing insight into Nate's paranoid tendencies, revealing that he believed people were watching him. He would cover cameras and lights with black electrical tape, a habit that pointed to increasing instability. Police began monitoring Nate's movements and tracked him to a Walmart parking lot, where he handed over a large black duffel bag to a former colleague. When police later recovered the bag, it confirmed their suspicions. Inside, they found ammunition, rifles, body armor plates, black zip ties, and other items, but notably, the 9mm weapon used in the murders was missing. This discovery only deepened the mystery surrounding Nate's potential role. The investigation came to a head as officers confronted Nate and later visited his home to speak with his fiancée, Ermelinda. Investigators continued to probe Nathaniel Huey's involvement in the Bartolomei family murders, shifting their focus to his fiancée Ermelinda Palomo, a 50-year-old mother of 5. When officers arrived at her home, Ermelinda agreed to answer their questions inside a police cruiser.
I know you know what's going on and why you were here, okay? I know you were talking on the phone with your husband right now.
Husband
Okay.
or boyfriend?
He's just a boyfriend.
Okay. Does he live here with you? How long have you guys been together?
2015.
Okay. We're investigating a murder. Okay?
I murdered someone.
So, we have in our possession some phones, okay? And in those phones, we're doing what it's called a phone dump. So what happens is if anybody's talking on a text app that you can download, for example, Text Now, we can retrieve those messages.
Okay.
We have retrieved those messages. All right, we've read them. They're pretty clear that somebody's pretty upset at the victim. Okay, is there any way that these text messages are going to come back to you, or your name, or your phone, or anything associated with that? Okay.
We'd like to speak with you without him present. Are you okay with that?
Sure, do you want me to walk away?
Wherever you're comfortable.
Wherever you're comfortable, right?
Well, the dogs are all around, so...
Oh yeah, but we're out front of the house in the backyard, right? I'm not saying go out. I'm not saying go in the house, but we can talk with you out over here. If you're okay with that, we can go over by my car if you'd like.
Let me get my jacket.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
She revealed that she had been on the phone with Nate at the moment police approached him, overhearing snippets of their interaction, including references to an affair. Shockingly, she claimed this was the first she had heard of his relationship with Zoraida Bartolomei. As officers delved deeper, Ermelinda acknowledged Nate's history of infidelity, admitting it had occurred early in their relationship, between 2015 and 2017. She explained her attempts to rebuild trust, but suspected that Nate might have been unfaithful again. She had seen Zoraida's name on Nate's phone during a late-night call that left her questioning his loyalty. Though Ermelinda hadn't met Zoraida or Alberto Rolon, she confessed to wondering whether Nate had been dishonest. When confronted with evidence suggesting Nate had lied about knowing Zoraida, Ermelinda struggled with disbelief. She asked the officers not to disclose her statements to Nate, grappling with the reality of the situation. Despite her fears, Ermelinda's cooperation added another layer to the investigation, revealing tensions within Nate's personal life and complicating his credibility. Ermelinda Palomo, Nate's fiancée, provided an alibi, insisting that Nate had been home with her on both Friday and Saturday nights, though they slept in separate areas of the house. She claimed her daughters could corroborate his whereabouts, emphasizing that Nate wouldn't have been able to leave without her knowledge. When asked if Nate was capable of taking someone's life, Ermelinda firmly denied the possibility, describing him as someone who typically tried to de-escalate conflicts rather than engage in them. However, investigators remained skeptical, particularly as they worked to trace the origin of the threatening text messages sent to Zoraida and Alberto. Detectives requested Nate's consent to examine his phone and retrieve text messages, hoping to eliminate him as a suspect. Nate hesitated, expressing discomfort about investigators accessing his personal information.
It would take us a couple hours to pull information off the phone that could eliminate you as a suspect, like right from the start. It's up to you.
It feels like you're very suspecting of me.
Anytime somebody dies, you look at the husband, the boyfriend. If it's a girl, if it's a guy, you look at his wife and any kind of lovers he had. That's what we look at. We start there. And then this person was at work. So we eliminate that. This person was, we went through the phone. There's nothing between those two. When you're telling us there's no threats. But I can't go to our bosses. I can't go to a state attorney and say, no, I verified that there's no threats.
Just go on the computer, Chief, because I don't even get with my phone. I'm saying this. I completely understand what you're saying, and I'm not even trying to get.
The detectives also sought permission to search Nate's vehicle for any evidence, such as traces of blood. As the investigation continued, Nate's evasive behavior and the mounting circumstantial evidence kept him firmly in the spotlight. Nate eventually agreed to provide a DNA sample, hand over his cell phone, and allow a search of his SU. He claimed he had nothing to hide, but his evasiveness raised red flags. When questioned about the threatening messages sent to Zoraida and Alberto, Nate denied knowledge of them but admitted he had received similar messages himself. He described these as coming from individuals of Bulgarian descent, claiming they had high-tech capabilities and were always doing stuff to his phone. Nate's statements became even more bizarre as investigators reviewed his device, uncovering a narrative that pointed to an unlikely and chilling motive. For months, Nate had been receiving threatening texts from what he believed to be members of a powerful drug cartel composed of Mexican and Bulgarian individuals. These messages convinced him he was under constant surveillance and that his life was in danger. The cartel allegedly instructed him to act according to their wishes, warning that failure to comply would result in his death within a year. Nate also believed he had been infiltrated by a mole, someone close to him who was planning to attack him. Nate's correspondence with these supposed criminals revealed that he never questioned their identities or motives. He appeared to fully believe he was an unwilling participant in their operation. On September 19th, 2 days after the murders, Nate hired a lawyer and met his mother at a Target store. While Ermelinda waited in the car, Nate confessed to his mother that he had killed the Bartolomei family. When asked why, he claimed it was because people were after him and that he believed the children were better off dead than alive without their parents. The confession added a chilling layer to the case, but the exact nature of Nate's delusions and the role of the alleged cartel remained unclear. Later that day, Nate and Ermelinda fled Illinois, prompting Ermelinda's family to report her as a missing and endangered person. National alerts were issued, and their images were shared with law enforcement and media outlets. Using license plate readers and Nate's phone data, investigators located the couple's GMC SUV in Catoosa, Oklahoma, over 600 miles from their home. Surveillance footage captured them at a Walmart, purchasing items like hair dye and a prepaid cell phone. They appeared calm, holding hands and smiling as they exited the store. But when a Catoosa police officer attempted to stop them, Nate sped off, leading authorities on a high-speed chase. The pursuit ended tragically on Interstate 44 when the GMC crashed into another car and a solid median. The vehicle caught fire, and officers heard gunshots from inside. Ermelinda was pulled from the passenger side, critically injured from a gunshot wound, and rushed to the hospital. Nate was found dead in the driver's seat, having turned the gun on himself. Ermelinda later succumbed to her injuries, marking the incident as an apparent murder-suicide. As investigators sifted through Nate's correspondence and Ermelinda's data, they uncovered the shocking truth behind Nate's paranoia. Since December 2021, Ermelinda had been creating fake phone numbers and sending threatening messages to Nate, fueling his delusions and ultimately driving him to commit the murders. The twisted manipulation revealed Ermelinda's role in the bizarre and tragic plot. Ermelinda Palomo, by using fake personas, convinced Nate that he was entangled in a dangerous cartel composed of Mexican and Bulgarian criminals. These personas had detailed backstories, roles, and even relationships within the fictional organization. Some were portrayed as bosses or hitmen, while others were hackers. Ermelinda even researched the dark web and translated words to mimic Bulgarian, further selling the illusion. Her motives initially seemed rooted in jealousy. She used these personas to scare Nate into being faithful, intercepting messages from Zoraida and escalating her charade. But as her jealousy grew, so did the complexity of her manipulation. On September 14th, just days before the murders, Ermelinda sent threatening messages to Zoraida and Alberto, warning them to end the affair. When her threats failed, she escalated further, using one of her fake personas to convince Nate that Zoraida was a mole, planning to attack him. The persona urged Nate to act first, reassuring him that many murders go unsolved and instructing him to stage the scene as a burglary. Believing the cartel's lies, Nate began plotting the murders, researching Zoraida's neighborhood, and planning his entry and exit. He even told the fake cartel member, unaware it was Ermelinda, that his wife would drive him to the scene. Tragically, Nate died without ever realizing the cartel was a fabrication and that Ermelinda, the woman he trusted most, was behind the entire plot. The murders of Zoraida, Alberto, Adriel, and Diego left an entire community heartbroken. Vigils were held, and the family was remembered as loving, kind, and full of promise. Their deaths left a hole that cannot be filled. As of now, the case is considered closed, but the deeper truths behind what truly motivated the killer and how many people may have been involved remain unclear. The Bartolomei family murders are a devastating reminder that sometimes evil doesn't come from strangers, but from those quietly watching from the shadows. While justice may seem to have been served by the killer's death, there are still layers of this story that leave behind a sense of unease. Zoraida, Alberto, Adriel, and Diego deserved so much more. Their memory lives on, not only in the hearts of those who loved them, but in the hope that by telling their story, we can prevent another senseless tragedy. Thank you for watching this true crime documentary. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe. Keeping the memory of victims alive and raising awareness about these tragic events can help prevent future tragedies. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next story.